Hi everyone, welcome back to my next video. And this is the second video of this topic, that is left politics in colonial India. So in this video itself, we are going to continue our discussion which we have started in the last video. We were talking about the left politics, the emergence of left politics in colonial India, and how the Communist Party of India took shape in India. So we have talked about it. But before I start my lecture, this slide is for you guys who are watching me for the first time. So my name is Chandrabhal Tiwari Om, and in short, Om Tiwari. I'm an educator on an academy platform for NTUGC NET and SET examinations. I teach history there, and I have been teaching history on that platform for last 3 years. I have done my master's in history from University of Delhi, and currently I'm pursuing PhD from Lucknow University. I'm also a research associate in an ICSSR project in BHU, and previously I worked as guest faculty in University of Delhi as well. आपके काम की चीज़ एक ये भी है कि आप हमें अदर प्लेटफॉर्म पे भी फाइंड कर सकते हैं. अगर आप इस चैनल पे भूले भटके आ गए हैं तो सब्सक्राइब दिस चैनल. The name is Om's History, and you can click the bell icon so that whenever I upload any video you get the notification and all those things, because you know that these videos are going to be very helpful for you. Next is that I'm also available on Telegram. That is Om's History. जो आप ये देख रहे हो by this very name only, Om's History. You can find search Om's History and you can find my group. और वहाँ पे भी हम आपको several notification देते रहते हैं कि कौन सी classes हमारी आने वाली हैं, कैसे हमारे किस प्लेटफॉर्म पे कौन सी क्लासेस आ रही हैं. आपके कोई डाउट है तो उसको भी हम लेते हैं. Apart from that, I'm also available on Instagram. You can search me on my Instagram handle Om's History, or @Om's History. You just search it, you'll find me. Now let's start our discussion. So in the last class, we were basically talking about how the Communist Party of India it took shape in India, and how that Communist Party of India, with the help of different sections of leaders who were influenced by the communist ideology, they joined this communist movement in India. Okay, so now the history of this communist movement, it can be divided into 5 distinct phases, and that's how we are going to look towards these 5 distinct phases. So the very first phase, it could be said as the period of the 3 conspiracy trials. Okay, this was the period of these 3 conspiracy trials. So what happened is that in the last class I have talked about that how different communist leaders, or the leaders who were influenced by the communist ideologies, they had joined the universities, a communist university in Moscow, and they got trained in communism. And after receiving thorough training at Moscow at the communist university, and assured of adequate financial support from the Moscow, especially from the group Communist International, the first band of communist revolutionaries, they crossed India, only to find themselves accused of organizing a conspiracy against the king emperor. हमने last class में भी ये चीज बताई थी कि why Britain was very much conscious about the working of these communist people, because the whole ideology of communist people, it was based on that how it needed to topple down the current government so that it could establish a communist society. Anyway, the movement picked up somewhat only after your Communist Party of Great Britain, it started taking interest in India, in the movement of India, and it started supervising the movements in India. Rajni Palme Dutt, he became an important figure in this connection. Rajni Palme Dutt, sorry, who went on to write India Today. It was a work, it was a first communist work which in India basically, which looked towards Indian national movement, and which kind of described the very nature of the Indian national movement. Anyway, so RP Dutt, he became an important figure in this connection, and he was throughout in closer touch with Moscow than most of his colleagues in the Communist Party of Great Britain. Apart from that, there was one of the emissaries of the Communist Party of Great Britain. It was Philip Spratt, and Philip Spratt arrived in India in December 1926. And then after arriving in India, he started organizing a number of unions or came into connection with the number of unions. He started editing various newspapers. He launched some youth and front organizations as well. So a kind of an initial form of political working class and socialist organization, it started appearing in the form of workers and peasant parties. अगर आपको याद होगा तो हमने आपसे लास्ट क्लास में बात किया था 1922 में आपके एम एन रॉय ने एक लेटर लिखा था ऐसे डांग को, और उसमें उन्होंने अपना प्लान बताया था, एंड द प्लान वाज फॉर अ डुअल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, एक लीगल और एक नॉन लीगल या इलीगल। और लीगल जो फ्रंट आपके बने वो वर्कर्स एंड पेजेंट पार्टीज के रूप में या वर्कर्स एंड पेजेंट पार्टी के रूप में एक डुअल क्लास पार्टी के रूप में इमर्ज होते हैं। एनीवे, सो सच मूवमेंट्स दे स्प्रंग अप, and the first workers and peasant party, it was formed in Bengal in February 1926. Your job is to tell me who was the main leader or the main head who launched this workers and peasant party in 1926 in Bengal. But anyway, such parties, they were also followed in Bombay, in United Provinces, and even in Punjab. They had their own magazines as well. Workers and peasant party की अपनी खुद की magazines होती थी. In fact, you might have heard about one magazine called as Kirti Kisan, or like yeah, I'm forgetting the name of the magazine. Actually, it's not Kirti Kisan. uh, I'll let you guys know in the next session what was the magazine. But for that magazine, even Bhagat Singh used to write articles in that magazine. And if you guys remember the name, please write in the comment below. Yeah. So now workers and peasant party, they started emerging up. The first party was in Bombay, and after that in United Province and Punjab, these parties, they started emerging up. These were united in 1927 AD in the form of All India Workers and Peasant Party. Okay, in the All India Workers and Peasant Party, they have been united in 1927, जिसने अपनी फर्स्ट कांग्रेस या फर्स्ट कॉन्फ्रेंस जो की वो की आपके दिसंबर 1927 में. Now during 1928-29, the Communist Party, it organized a series of industrial strikes as well at Bombay, and perhaps the greatest success जो आपको कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया या कम्युनिस्टों को इस समय मिली वो ये थी कि they managed to influence, or they managed to influence the your trade unions or trade union politics in India. In fact, from 1920 till 1928, the influence of the communists, it increased immensely under this trade unionism or trade union politics in India. But इसी टाइम पीरियड पे एक और चीज हम देखते हैं कि like there was the effort from government side as well to put a crack on these movement. Okay, so the government, it lost actually no time to strike the leftist movement in India, and the repression of the government, it started on these movements, on such movements, such activities. But the repression which was done by the government, it could not choke the advances of the awakening of working class of India. And we see that by 1926-27 AD, socialist ideas were spread widely. However, the communist movement during the period, it attracted notice by its being involved in three conspiracy trials. और इन सारे conspiracy trials के बारे में आपको थोड़ा थोड़ा पता होना चाहिए. We have the Peshawar conspiracy trial, we have the Kanpur conspiracy trial, and then we have the Meerut conspiracy trial. Like I will talk about this Meerut conspiracy trial in detail, but you have to read about this Peshawar and Kanpur conspiracy trial. If you guys want me to like make a separate lecture on all these conspiracy trials, तो वो भी हम कर सकते हैं. But हमारा जो main मोटिव है आज के इस वीडियो का वो ये है कि डिफरेंट फेजेस में आपके कम्युनिस्ट मूवमेंट किस हिसाब से प्रोग्रेस करता है. वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट. Now, this Meerut trial, which continued for over 3.5 years and ended with the conviction of almost 27 persons, it kind of made martyrs out of these communists. Okay, how come? What happened is that these communists, they at that point of time, they were taking an anti-British or anti-imperialist stance. And because of that, these communists, they got the sympathy of Congress or the sympathy of nationalist leaders as well. Okay, so like the Congress Working Committee, it set up a Central Defense Committee and it sanctioned a sum of rupees 1,500 in the defense of these communist leaders. And in fact, in their case was pleaded by some eminent nationalist leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, like K.N. Karju, like F.H. Ansari. Uh, in fact, Gandhi also visited the prisoners of this Meerut conspiracy trial in jail in 1929. He visited them and he expressed his sympathy for the communist leaders here. Now, in that atmosphere of unreserved sympathy for the communists, the Congress members of the Central Legislative Assembly, they successfully opposed the enactment of one public safety bill. This public safety bill, it was intended to stop the working of the communists in India, so that no communist leaders were allowed, like the international communist leaders were allowed to work in India. And this was important, this was a very important bill for Communist Party of India, because डाउन द लाइन जब ये वीडियो आपका एंड होने लगेगा, आप ये चीज समझेंगे कि कैसे आपका कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया, इट वाज हाईली कनेक्टेड विद द इंटरनेशनल थिंग्स, इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स, especially the politics of Communist International, and how the international events, the international dictum, it basically dictated or guided the working of the communist parties or communist leaders in India. Anyway, this long drawn out trial, it provided a kind of a handy opportunity to the communist leaders to make politically loaded propaganda speeches that received wide coverage in the nationalist press, and they became kind of an like a household name. From 1925 to 1929, the Communist Party of India cooperated with the Congress and tried to even influence the program of Congress. Okay, and in fact, this Meerut conspiracy trial, it became so famous that even in Britain, a play was made by Manchester Theatre Group, and the name of the play itself was Meerut. Moving forward, we have the second phase begins, and this was the phase of, or this was a period of political wilderness. What happened at a time when the nationalist movement under Mahatma Gandhi or Gandhi's leadership, it was making giant strides forward in arousing the masses against the imperial stronghold. The Communist Party of India at this point of time in this phase suffered from both organizational and ideological articulation. How? It got a direction from the 6th Congress of Communist International. Congress of Communist International means the Conference of Communist International. And under the direction of this Communist International, Communist Party of India, it broke away with the Congress. We are no longer going to support the Congress Party. Now the Workers and Peasant Party, they like WPI, it also kind of got dissolved in 1929. Okay, considering it irrational to develop a two-class party according to the Communist International, because Workers and Peasant Party, they have been considered as the belonging to two separate class, which Communist Party of India, it considered no, it is actually wrong and it is actually absurd, and we should not talk about in such manner. That's why like we see that Workers and Peasant Party 1929 में पूरी तरह से डिसॉल्व कर दी गई, और इसके बारे में आपको like सुनने को आगे नहीं मिलता है. Anyway, receiving its cue from the decision of the Communist International of 1928, the CPI also attacked both right wing and the left wing in the Indian National Congress. And it was also the time period when the Congress had boycotted the Simon Commission, adopted the resolution on Purna Swaraj, and launched the civil disobedience movement. Okay, civil disobedience movement. So, इस time period पे Communist Party of India, in order to try to steal the thunder from the popularity of the Congress, they started projecting a triangular character of this contest. What they started saying that people का जो struggle है Indian national movement में, it is not just against the foreign imperialism, but it is also against the Indian exploiters, and most of the Indian exploiters, they are now controlling the Congress. Okay, according to these communist ideologue, it also attacked the and the point which I was making, it is being made clear in this next bullet, that is the petty bourgeois or nationalist leadership of Gandhiji. Okay, it has been criticized by the Communist Party or the your communist leaders, and they charged Mahatma Gandhi of acting as a tool of imperialism and thereby betraying the revolutionary struggle of the masses. Okay, like while discussing, while reading about RP Dutt, we hear that how RP Dutt has mentioned Mahatma Gandhi as Jonah of a revolution, who do not want to have a uncontrolled or have an uncontrolled mass movement or such revolution. Or it was because of Mahatma Gandhi that the society could not transform, or Indian national movement could not become a pure movement of the proletariat. It even denounced the Congress left wing as a counter revolutionary force, and it treated it as a dangerous obstacle to the victory of Indian national themselves, and which is basically throwing a drift from the political mainstream कि इंडियन नेशन ही आपका एक पॉलिटिकल मेन स्ट्रीम से अलग हट गया है बिकॉज ऑफ द कांग्रेस लेफ्ट विंग की पॉलिटिक्स से. इन जुलाई 1934 सीपीआई वाज डिक्लेयर्ड इलीगल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड कम्युनिस्ट ग्रुप्स दे स्टार्टेड स्प्लिटिंग, और द कम्युनिस्ट लीडर्स दे स्टार्टेड like splitting in different groups. So this thing happened in 1934. And this was the end of the second phase. Now comes the next phase, that is the third phase. In this third phase, what we are seeing that 1934 mein Communist Party of India or the communist group, the communist leadership, all of them, they have been declared as illegal. The Communist Party of India once again thought that it is now prudent to revise our political agenda or political tactics. So CPI, it was reorganized in 1935 under the leadership of PC Joshi and under the direction of the 7th Congress of Communist International, which happened in 1935, which suggested the formation of a united front because we are having a threat of fascism. CPI, it decided to cooperate with the Congress. Okay, and once again जो आपका कम्युनिस्ट इंटरनेशनल ने उसने डायरेक्शन दिया कि आपको कांग्रेस के साथ या आपको इंपीरियलिस्ट फोर्सेस से जो भी पार्टीज लड़ रही हैं उनका साथ आपको देना चाहिए. Now, taking policy of direction from the deliberation of the 7th Congress of Communist International, RP Dutt and Ben Bradley, these two communist leaders, RP Dutt, the communist leader from India, and Ben Bradley, the communist leader from Britain, they published their thesis, जिसको Dutt Bradley thesis बोला जाता था या जाना जाता है, या it was, the real name was the Anti-Imperialist People's Front in India, and it was published in March 1936. Now this Dutt Bradley thesis, it labeled the Indian National Congress as merely united front of the Indian people in the nationalist struggle, and they advised the communists to join the Indian National Congress, utilize its solid party organization, strengthen the left wing within the Congress, like the Congress Socialist Party, and oust the reactionary right wing. Okay, so they have decided that this is how we need to work. So now this was your third phase, जो कि हम देखते हैं, which emerged at this very point of time. Okay, now what was this third phase? How this third phase was different? कि इसमें आप देखते हैं कि how the communists or they made a strategic alliance with the Congress under the guidance of the 7th Congress of the Communist International, or under this thesis which was given by Dutt and Bradley. Now comes the fourth phase. The fourth phase, it basically corresponds to the Second World War, and we kind of see a communist somersault here. What is the somersault? मतलब गुलाटियां मारना. Okay, you are just changing your narration. Okay, so when the Second World War broke out, guys, the Indian communists, under the advice from the Comintern leader, Comintern matlab Communist International, they continued their united front policy against all type of imperialism, including fascism and Nazism, and they continued to work with Congress. Okay, they continued to work with the Congress. In fact, rather the communists, they scored a point as well over the Congress, over the Indian National Congress, with the latter's initial kind of the hesitation which we have seen during Second World War, जब कांग्रेस के लीडर्स जो आपके बड़े लीडर्स थे like Mahatma Gandhi and some other right-wing leaders, they were apprehensive of launching a mass movement, and they were talking about like the masses, they are not ready. In fact, इसी issue को लेके आपके त्रिपुरी क्राइसिस भी हो गया था, क्राइसिस बिटवीन महात्मा गांधी एंड सुभाष चंद्र बोस. तो उस टाइम पीरियड पे जब कांग्रेस की लीडरशिप इट वाज नॉट वेरी कीन ऑन लॉन्चिंग अ मास मूवमेंट, योर द Communist Party of India, it basically declared that okay, we need to launch a mass movement at this very point of time. So एक तरह से they scored a point over Congress at this very point of time. But the Communist Party, at this point of time, what happened, or the communist leadership in India, they found themselves in a very false kind of position when in June 1941 a thing happened. In June 1941, a development happened, and the development was that Hitler, he attacked on Soviet Union. Soviet Union, which was the fatherland of socialism. So Hitler, he attacked on the fatherland of socialism. Now the communists in India, they staged a right about turn and relabeled the war, the world war, as a people's war and announced full support for the allied Russian war effort. Okay, what happened? Earlier, when the World War started, so they were not supporting it because they were saying that the this World War is basically the imperialist war, and we do not need to support it. We are against any form of imperialism, including fascism and Nazism. But when your like Hitler, he attacked on Russia, and Russia joined the forces with America and Britain. So Russia was the fatherland, okay, fatherland of communism, so, or fatherland of socialism. So communists in India as well, they changed their stance. A kind of a 180-degree change happened, and they now declared that this war is basically a people's war, and they announced full support for the allied Russian war effort. Okay, and in fact they were rewarded as well. कि 1934 के बाद, after 8 years, the government of India, it declared Communist Party of India as a legal organization in 1942. So that thing also happened here, and the communists now, they extended all possible support and even acted as the British spies in suppressing the Quit India movement in 1942. Okay, in fact, they did not appreciate attainment of freedom, which was fought by the Indian National Congress, and they said that all these freedoms, all these like this Indian national movement, or the call of freedom, is basically a farce. Okay, and this sudden shift in the communist policy, or the policy of the communist leaders, it actually evoked a very strong condemnation in nationalist circle, and it clearly demonstrated that the Communist Party of India, or its policy, or its decision, it is being made or dictated outside, and there are some international wire pullers who are dictating the Communist Party of India. It is not completely an independent party, and it is depending on the international, or international players are basically working, and international players are basically guiding the policies of Communist Party of India. So that's why this party, it kind of started losing its credibility at this very point of time. Okay, it started losing its credibility. The thing I was talking about, I have written those in bullets. So yeah, it started losing credibility. So this was the phase. Now the next phase, or the last phase, it started from 1942. Okay, uh, this was the phase where the transfer of power negotiations were happening, and communists, they were giving their multinational plan. What was this phase? So during this period, what we find, like around 1942, the Communist Party of India's posture was very confusing, and it was very extreme as well. At this very point of time, they were very pro-Muslim, and basically pro-Muslim League, it should be the correct term. And it sought, the Communist Party of India, it sought to further widen the Congress League alienation by encouraging all separatist element and work for the division of India into a number of sovereign states. Okay, laga na jhatka. So Communist Party of India is basically at this very point of time wanted that India, or it was supporting those forces who wanted India to be separated or divided into several sovereign states. Why? What was their strategy? Why Communist Party of India was doing it? So the reason was, guys, is that, like I have already mentioned, that how the call for the freedom by the Congress, it was declared as a very farce, as a very facade by these Communist Party people, and they wanted, for them, the real freedom was what? Not just the disappearance, not just the defeat of imperialist forces, but the defeat of those forces who are the exploiters in India as well, to change the whole economic system in India. And that cannot happen by the method of Congress, according to them, because Congress just want the imperialist forces to go. It does not, or it is not saying anything on the changing the system, the Indian system here. Okay. However, what happened? So its strategy was simple. Its strategy was to tighten control over at least one such state, one such divided state out of India, and then to make it as a base for the liberation of the rest of India. Its policy or its strategy was like this. However, the Muslim League, it at this point of time, it spurned the idea of an alliance with the communists. Okay, and it did not like this kind of alliance with the Communist Party of India, and so the Communist Party of India therefore stood as a very discredited organization at this very point of time. Their credit actually, it stood so low at this very point of time. So in 1942, Communist Party of India, it adopted a resolution declaring India to be a multinational state. India is not one state but a multinational state, it declared, and it identified as many as 16 Indian nations. अंडर दिस इंडियन सबकॉन्टिनेंट और इंडिया एज अ नेशन जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, जो हम देख रहे हैं, इसमें डिस्टिंक्ट 16 इंडियन नेशंस हैं. And it adopted a resolution like this in 1942. Then in 1946, the CPI, it put forward before the cabinet mission a plan for division of India into 17 separate sovereign states on the model of the Balkans or the USSR. Okay, it was very interesting prospect which was given by the Communist Party of India, which you should keep in mind, because it was absurd and it was also very kind of a very extreme idea which was provided by Communist Party of India at this very point of time. But the strategy was same. जो हमने आपको बताया कि out of these 17 separate state, अगर एक या दो स्टेट में भी या उससे ज्यादा स्टेट्स में अगर कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ इंडिया का वर्चस्व रहता है, तो they will make that very state or that very area or sovereign state as their base, and then they will fight for the change in the other part of India. Okay, by 1947, the communist movement in India, it had lost whatever place it had in Indian politics, and CPI was in complete disarray. Okay, it was in complete disarray, which is understood as well. Why such thing happened? So we are seeing, अगर हम इसको critically देखें कि why Communist Party of India by 1947 we are seeing that Communist Party of India, it is losing such a credibility. So the thing was that the Communist Party of India at this very point of time, first thing is the concept of communist, of proletarian internationalism. What is this proletarian internationalism? Proletarian internationalism. Okay, this proletarian internationalism, it is somewhat similar to that pan-Islamic policy. All the people all the Muslims of the world, they had some similar kind of aspiration or interest, that pan-Islamism. So proletarian internationalism is kind of similar concept, which is talking about the proletariat class, the worker class, all over the world, they have the similar interest. So this concept actually, it could not be reconciled with India's national aspiration. Okay, so India का जो national aspiration था, जो India एक sovereign state के तौर पे अपने आप को emerge करना चाहता था, उसके लिए लड़ रहा था, उस aspiration से बिल्कुल अलग था ये proletarian internationalism. Further, जो Marxism का base था, the basic articles of Marxism was class struggle or class antagonism. But this class antagonism or violence, they are alien to Indian tradition, because in India, class antagonism, it was not there. It was a caste antagonism was there, and the the property of different caste, it was difficult to actually divide them into one singular class, because we are finding rich Brahmins as well and poor Brahmins as well. We are finding the rich Kshatriyas and poor Kshatriyas as well. So the class characteristic, it was not that strong, or class antagonism was not that strong compared to the caste antagonism which was there. And besides, how the Communist Party of India, it was taking all its dictum from Communist International, from international players, जैसे हमने अभी देखा. However, this whole Marxist-Leninist philosophy, which was shown of its extra-national kind of loyalties, has some relevance in India. We cannot, or in independent India, because we cannot totally deny them or defy them, because the yawning gap between the rich and the poor, and the underdeveloped condition of the Indian economy, they are the favorable kind of climatic condition in which Marxist socialism can take root in India and serve as a kind of a beacon light for the downtrodden masses. And that's why we see that the communist movement or though the communist movement it declined, and the communist party its credibility kind of stooped to such a low at the time period when India got its independence, but the ideology of communism, or the communist ideology, it had its relevance. And in fact, the ideology of this socialism, it affected so many leaders of Congress as well, and they also changed or tried to change the whole philosophy of Congress, and that thing will be discussed in the next video. So that's it for this very session. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a very important session. I have talked about a very important topic where I have discussed different phases of Communist Party of, or sorry, Communist movement in India. I hope you liked this video. If you have any question, you can write down in the comment below. You can also like search me on Telegram by searching Om's History, search me on Instagram by the handle @Om's History. You can direct message me, you can message me in the group with your question, and if you have any suggestion, do give your suggestion as well. uh, thank you so much. I will meet you in the next video. Till then, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel as well if you are liking the content. So yeah, bye bye guys.